So before we start digging into your work and the Commission's work, Kerstin, we will have an elevator pitch. Some of you heard pitches and done pitches. But I don't think, or does everybody know, José, what you're doing, you think? Can you do an elevator pitch?
Very quick then. So I'm José Noldin, CEO of GravitHy, a Brazilian engineer, married, father of 3 children that after 25 years in the industry emitting a lot of CO2, decided to contribute for its decarbonization. So at GravitHy, actually what we do, we are a power-to-X company that we intend to replace the use of coal in steel production by hydrogen, and by doing so slashing the CO2 emissions associated with the steel production in the order of up to 90%. Also redesigning the value chain and creating a lot of value along the way.
Thank you. We will talk more about that. I know that. Thank you for coming. And Mikołaj, tell us, what do you do for a living?
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting today for this meeting. Great conference, actually. Well, I am representing today one of the biggest industrial group in Poland, producing steel, aluminium, rubber, chemical parts, mainly for the automotive sector. So we are tier 1 for the, let's say, companies like prestigious like BMW, Volkswagen, many other OEMs globally, in Europe, in Mexico, in Brazil, in China, India, and delivering our products. And energy is very important for us. So we have as well decided during the last year to invest into energy. So we are today as well, for the first time, in the role as an investor. So we are really happy with this, and we share your vision.
Thank you. And Philipp, tell us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Philipp Matthes. I'm a senior investment manager at Siemens Financial Services in Germany. I was, just until recently, also managing director of one of the first green hydrogen plants in Germany, in Wunsiedel, 9 megawatt, and I can share some experience maybe that I had actually operational there with EU regulation. But Siemens Financial Services, yeah, we believe that only sustainable business is profitable business in the long term. And as part of Siemens AG, we understand the economic and technological requirements of our customers. And together we offer equity, debt, leasing, and finance advisory solutions. And I think the task that is lying ahead of us with climate change to tackle that requires collaborative action. And one big example for this collaboration is what Siemens Financial Services has done with InnoEnergy together. InnoEnergy is a great example here. And for the last 3 years, I think we have really a successful relationship to jointly pool resources and enable scaling of green technology.
Did you have time on forehand? I mean, as you said, you've been financing a lot of new technologies. Did you find anything interesting out here?
I arrived a little bit late this morning, but I already had a few interesting discussions, also with other financing parties, but much more to come later today and full day tomorrow.
Great. Well, thank you. Looking forward to hear more about that. And then we have Franck, Neel, OMV Petrom. What do you do and what's your role there?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation for this panel. So I am French. I'm working for a Romanian company, part of an Austrian group. I have 3 daughters, half Hungarian, half French, living in London, Budapest, Paris, so a very European family.
So then what do you speak at home, French or English or?
Both.
And German?
Okay. And Hungarian.
And Hungarian?
And Hungarian. So a very international family, but very European, focused in Europe. What I'm doing, I think what we're very proud with OMV Petrom, it's, you could say a few years ago, we consider our company as the evil of the energy transition. We are the oil and gas company, and we were, especially since 60 years, producing mainly oil in Romania. And end of 2021, we developed a strategy in terms of energy transition. We are in 2024, and well, I think the team and the employees of OMV Petrom are very proud, and our shareholders, that we are leading now the energy transition in Southeast Europe. Our footprint is Southeast Europe, And I will give you more example on that, why we are leading the energy transition. But I think it's a great achievement in terms of why it's important a company like us to achieve the net zero carbon by 2050.
And we will talk more about a few of the subjects you all have mentioned, of course. But going to you, Kerstin, Jorna, you were here 2 years ago announcing something I think most of us are really grateful for, and that was the Green Deal Industrial Plan. Now it's taken into force, so what is happening? Where do we stand now with that?
Thank you, Linda. I cannot resist to top the gentleman here. 4 children, 3 languages. So, Green Industrial Plan. What has happened is that, I mean, first of all, we have a target, we have a vision until 2050 that gives investor predictability. We now have to implement and to make it happen. And the second thing that happened is that the focus is the business case. The business case of the transformation. And for a long time, our focus has been regulation, grants, and we have developed our vision much more. And we have developed it in a way to understand the business case. And if you look at any business case, it's always the same. It's the inputs, it's the energy, it's the technology, it's the skills, it's the financing, and it's the market. What we saw is that, for example, on clean tech, the business case was too slow. So that's when we adopted Net Zero Industry Act, which actually looks at the business case for clean tech, whether it's cables for grid, whether it's solar panels, whether it's wind turbines. And we looked at the business case and said there are 4 pain points. First, access to land/operating permits, too long. We did a research. I mean, it took something like between 5 and more than 10 years in the member states to actually get these operations going. That was too slow. So we broke with a 30-year-old dogma in the single market, which is EU regulates, member states implement. We overrode that dogma and we said permitting has to be the same everywhere. State-of-the-art, clear deadlines everywhere in the single market, and we got that adopted. We got that adopted for Net Zero Industry Act, but we also got it adopted for Critical Raw Materials Act. So that covers 2 really important areas to make the business case work. The second part was the access to finance. And here we developed something which is strategic project label. So if you have a strategic project, then you get priority access to the different financial possibilities. Our budget is 1% of GDP. That's not a lot. But member states also have money, and that's where the label will actually work across financing sources. We have on the Critical Raw Material Act, our first call for strategic projects. We were expecting 30. Some of the most optimistic said, it might be even 50. We said, never. And then we have 170, which clearly shows the Critical Raw Materials Act has created an ambition to invest in an area where, to be frank, there was not so much investing, and in particular when I look at the bank community. So that's great. Then there's the access to skills, and we've realized that there is a big shift in the skills required, and we don't have the workforce and the skills for this. So rather than harmonize recognition of qualifications, which was the thing we did for a long time, we created skills academies, and again we followed energy ideas and the battery academy, and we roll this out for solar now, for other clean tech areas, for critical raw materials, where you upskill. And we also have a discussion, where are the skills we need in the future, not in our offices obviously, but between employers and workers to give that perspective. And the last part is the access to market, because the transformation business case means that you will have to invest, so that's a burden. You have a kind of sunk cost for your existing installation, and then on top of it you produce a product, and I'm looking at green steel, for example, that's more expensive than the regular product. So that's a market risk, and we need to de-risk these markets. Again, we've looked at our money, incentives for demand, but we've also looked at how regulation could work, and we came across public procurement. If I look at steel, 50% of the steel goes into construction. Who builds? Mainly public authorities, road, bridges, they renovate their building stock. So we are starting to ingrain in the public procurement rules and these calls the elements on green, sustainable, resilient, social. That's work ongoing. We'll come out in February with the criteria for resilience, and this is creating a market also for the uptake.
Thank you, Kerstin. We'll get back to what's in the pipe as well, but I would like now to hear, José, you were nodding a lot. If you look into your areas where you're operating, did this really make a difference for you?
Well, it makes a big difference. Let me tell you a story. GravitHy, for example, wasn't created by a eureka factor. Actually, because we have a Green Deal, we have objectives like that, it allowed the creation, for example, like InnoEnergy, capitalized InnoEnergy, that then helped in having this vision that, we got to do something different to decarbonize the steel production. With a very simple conclusion that decarbonize steel production, you need to decarbonize iron production, and the whole story goes. I studied the use of hydrogen in my school times. That was known. What's different now? The difference is that now we see that we may have a business case if sustainability criteria are the key driving factor. We can have a very compelling and stronger business case if it's based on sustainability, circularity, transparency, traceability, and etc. So all of that, let's say we are pretty happy. We are only there, we only exist because there is a Green Deal, there is a Fit for 55. Indeed, there are several other things that we need to improve, we need to advance. Especially speaking, we should not backpedaling on the ambitions. I believe that's a risk. Let's not forget why we are doing this. Last week we saw floods in the Sahara Desert that we have never seen before. We saw a hurricane in the US that we have never seen before. It's always the biggest, the most devastating one. That's the end game. Let's not forget the end game and backpedaling. At the same time, in the transition, we need to understand and recognize that there is an industry there that needs somehow to be protected, as they are part of the solution, but they are not alone. You need the newcomers, you need the new kids on the block, like companies like GravitHy, to actually accelerate and move the needle. And indeed, let's pinpoint and solve the problems as we have, for example, green premium. We have a green premium problem because today, it must be costly to pollute. At the end of the day, if we have a carbon pricing that is sufficiently high, the green premium is not necessarily justified or needed anymore. But how to do it without, let's say, kill the whole value chain that's already there. So happy that we have a lot of things, still a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work need to be done. I see, Mikołaj, you're writing down the work that needs to be done, right? I saw you were taking notes. I was going to go to Neel, but I will start with you, because you were apparently reacting here on what you heard. Tell us.
Well, actually, what I would like to say from my first-hand experience as, let's say, 35 factories, we need to employ people, we have to sell our products. And what I see that definitely we share the same and the common vision. So I would say only just positive words about what the European Commission did during the last 2-3 years. But unfortunately, and we have to be very honest and frank with you, as a representative of the European Commission, that very often we don't have, or we are not sharing the same interest. So this is something different, common interest to reduce the CO2 emissions. on very individual levels. But on the other hand, we have a really big problem on the sea level, on the bottom level. For example, if I really would like to do our factories, 35 factories, steel, aluminium, brass production, chemical production in Europe or in Poland, for example, to be independent and to base our production on 100% green energy, well, from the capex expenditure, we would like to invest in this, but in most cases it is almost impossible because of the distribution regulation. So this is a big, we don't have they are against us, we are against them. We want to be independent, so the TSO or DSO, the operator, will say, okay, but we are losing our job, our profitability, our revenue stream, because you are going to be independent. But from our business point of view, industrial will be really very heavy industry, we need to be independent. So that's something that should be properly addressed within the coming, let's say, even 1 or 2 years, not to wait too long. It's really very important, because then we cannot be independent, so we cannot invest in our renewable sources. And another thing, energy storage. We are talking today from the very early morning today about new capacity. Yes, this is great, but look at the curtailments. During the last year, 2024, we did light 74 gigawatt curtailment in the renewable energy in Poland. So the system is not prepared for this. We need energy storage, but energy storage is as well against the distribution model of energy within the European system. And you see, those are the real first-hand experience where we would like to invest, we would like to grow with, for example, our new investment, Repono, with Energy, but where is the market? I mean, the market is, but now execution. And the execution is the biggest problem today. And 27 countries, 27 completely different ideas how to tackle this. And that's something I have to say is a real challenge. If we will solve this together with the European Commission, with your bright mind, I am very happy. Yes, the business will grow much faster.
This will be one of the few panels, I think, where people ask for more regulations than I'm used to. Thank you, Mikołaj. And I'm looking at you now, Franck, because you are investing a lot in, we heard hydrogen mentioned here a few times, and ESAF. And I mean, for you then, the targets here on hydrogen and sustainable aviation, has that helped you and your business, or talking about more or less regulations? What do you say?
Yeah, I will answer your question, but maybe give an overview about what does it mean, the energy transition for us, and then we'll talk about mobility, because it's not the only things we're investing. So we come from a business model which is integrated business model. So we are producing, we are transforming, and we have the sales channels, we have the petrol station, we have the customers, the power plant, etc. Looking at now the sustainable product we are producing, and we are going to continue to increase the production, we want to look also as an integrated model. So what we are looking at and what we are building now, 2.5 gigawatt of renewable power, so 50 megawatt, 55 megawatt of electrolyzer, which is the first wave of electrolyzer, a SAF unit, the EV chargers in Southeast Europe, and also carbon storage, because you still need the fuels that people are not moving 100% to EV cars, so you still need also carbon storage to offset the fuel consumption will still happen by 2030. So that's our, broadly speaking. We're also looking at other technology like geothermal and mini geothermal, biomethane. So that's things we're also looking in Southeast Europe to reduce our footprint. Now, coming back to I think what Kerstin mentioned, two things, and three things which are important for us, especially in Southeast Europe. So you mentioned regulation, permitting, and grants. So I think what has worked very well, especially for the SAF, but also for the renewable power, the regulation, because I think definitely the fact that, the Fit for 55, the RED III, the obligation on SAF, really boost the the FID process, the final investment decision, sorry, we took this year for the SAF unit, which will be the largest in Central Europe as such. So we're very proud of this development, and this thanks to also to a regulation which helped us on that. The grants help the renewable power, reduce the risk on the capex and on the power risk, of course, the power price risk. We have also received grants for the electrolyzer, which is, I have to say, you need that because technology is still very expensive, still very not always mature in terms of technology, not too many providers of technology. So that's really needed to have. So this grants associated to regulation was one of the drivers of some of the decisions we took in terms of a final investment decision. We are putting 4 billion euro in this energy transition, so it's a significant investment for Romania and for the Southeast Europe. So that's definitely what has been, say, successful. Permitting is a challenge, and I think it's what we see is there's a lack of, why it's challenging is maybe cumbersome regulation, lack of people. I think we see in the administration, especially when you are looking at the local administration, you don't find the people who have the skills, and that's why you need to really think about, review the processes, the digitalization, to be able to accelerate. Because to tell them you have to accelerate, they will be a bit stuck, because they will say, okay, I need more, I don't know, 2,000 people to be able to manage there is 15 gigawatt of renewable power with grid connection today in Romania, but we don't have the permitting yet. So the grid connection is there. So it used to be a bottleneck, but now we don't have this bottleneck. There is bottleneck on the distribution, but not on the transmission at the moment. We have capacity, we can be injected, but the permitting will be a challenge. And I think we need to think about how to help them in terms of reducing the processes and the constraints and control and digitalization to make sure they don't need to hire more people on that. And I think there is not enough focus. There is a lot of money for digitalization from European Union, but sometimes we go for trainings which are not necessarily improving the processes. I think we need to really look at what we want to achieve with this training to be clear about the target. Because without target, we just spend money on training people how to use Windows. Yes, that's fine, but it doesn't improve the overall process of permitting.
Thank you. I'm thinking now of another panel we will have tomorrow when we talk about this, and that is how everybody has to take part. And the three parts is public, private, and the academia. I mean, to ramp up skills and to get the competence I think you all need, which is a lack, not just in Europe, as I understood it. But to go to you, Philipp, now after this, I mean, you are investing in these clean technologies, so can we hear some positive words about the new EU targets? Has these helped your companies you're involved with, or has it been more of a whip than a carrot? What do you say?
No, it certainly helps. I mean, just recapping what I experienced during my few hours here is mostly talks to other investors, actually, who are looking to invest into green tech. Whereas last year, I was mostly in the beginning talking to technology companies who were actually looking for the funds. But that also shows that there is money out there which needs to be unleashed, which needs to be deployed. And that's where regulation can kick in and to help to make these companies achieve profitable business cases, right? And that's, I mean, for me, the biggest challenge and the biggest task for the correct regulation. At Siemens Financial Services, we have a long track record of financing sustainability. I mean, we don't know the exact numbers. We financed over 27 gigawatts of wind power, 14 gigawatts of solar power, and several other assets, also clean mobility solutions, for example. But for every single project, there was a successful business case necessary in the end. And what you had in wind power, offshore wind power, was long-term planning security for the business cases. And sometimes I'm missing that, for example, when I look into hydrogen or also eSAF. I mean, there are a lot of questions. Just I was visiting 2 other conferences in the last 2 weeks, and other investors were asking me, yeah, it's good to have a quota for eSAF, but what if there's not enough eSAF? Will the quota prevail?
Maybe somebody can answer. If not Kerstin, so going back to you. What is your answer to that?
I think it's a good question, and I think one of the problems we see is the pace to achieve these targets. And I think sometimes you need a reality check about the time to spend and the time to take FID. First of all, it was in our case this project for the SAF unit took at least 2 years, in terms of preparing the project, looking at technology, so it takes time. Then you will have maybe 3 years of execution. So and that's only for 250,000 tons. So it doesn't solve the 6% target by 2030. So it's big commitment. It's also to do more. We are looking at why not to do 500,000 tons. And the problem we had was feedstock. To make sure feedstock qualified, of course, but also to get the technology and the labor force. So we think that could be a challenge, and what would be the price of SAF by 2030, which is still unknown, of course. But that will be the main challenge. So we prefer to go for medium size to make sure we secure this investment as soon as possible and plan another one later on. But we saw in Europe that some big units of SAF have been cancelled, investment have been cancelled, because maybe biggest was not feasible economically to take, or very difficult to take a decision at the moment. So just another point I wanted to say, the pace, of course, is one thing. And also what is important is to leave the choice of the technology to the industry. We are companies with engineers, with the people, research and department, etc., to make sure at the European level that fix some regulation, but not choose the technology. I think this is really a risk to go in the wrong direction at the end and to be in 2030 where we realize it's not feasible for X or Y reason. And we could find new technology. We are here for innovation. We are here to find new technology. I came here to see how we can achieve 2040, not 2030. I'm looking for the company for 2040. I'm looking for the people here who can build the solution by 2040. And so I don't want somebody to tell me, no, this technology you cannot choose, because I need to take decision potentially now to invest in some of the company we are going to meet.
Everybody's nodding, so this is not going to be a discussion, just so you know. They're just going to nod at each other and everybody agree. Or, Philipp, I'm going to go to Kerstin soon, but tell me. Mikołaj,
I just wanted to, concerning the targets, because one thing is the level of the European Commission targets and the regulations, but on the other side, we have another layer, which is the B2B relationship. We have a completely different targets there. For example, when we deliver to BMW, we need to be 100% green in 2026. And nobody cares where you are. Are you producing in Poland? Doesn't matter. You need to be 100% green. We have the same, actually, which is very interesting, in China. The same criteria on the B2B levels. There is no remorse. You really have to deliver this. Not wait until 2030. Because you will be not elected as a supplier tier 1. With other OEMs, it's very different. So each customer is different. But it's something that already we see within our nominations for the long-term contracts. So the B2B level is even much more important today from the business perspective.
And everybody's nodding there, so Mikołaj, thank you. But you are not alone here on stage. I'm thinking of Ursula von der Leyen as well, who's been saying that, to put the industry and the decarbonization on top of her priority list. Does that mean, coming now, what can we expect, Kerstin? Have we done enough, or what do you want to achieve? What kind of new measures is coming?
What we see in your testimonies is everybody has started walking, but your shoes hurt. And what I see is 3 points, really, where your shoes hurt. First is energy price. And we have to go, that's our ambition, to the AAA energy. Affordable, abundant at the factory gate. Your point about the transmission. And this is one of the proposals that Mrs. von der Leyen has also included in her political guidelines, our president. The second, and that will be very complicated. It will raise questions: should we transport molecules, hydrogen, through pipelines, Or should we transport electrons through to be built new grids, smart grids? How do we make sure that we get the power and the amount of the power? We had 50% of electricity last year was renewable. But there is also, the renewable energy we store away because we can't put it into a grid.
Yeah.
So we need to synchronize and get better at that in order not to block investment decisions operational on the offtake for the energy side. The second point where the shoe hurts is in de-risking, I would call it. Because as you said, there is money, but there is not the right money always at the right moment. And the right money that's missing is in particular on the scale up. The right money that's missing as well is the scale up into an existing industrial process for innovation rather than a dramatically new, completely different technology. Thank you. And here we have to look at our means. Our EU budget is 1% of GDP. Mr. Draghi said we need at least 4.5% of GDP to go in financing the transformation. To me, that suggests we have to be just better with our 1% of GDP to leverage in private money, but also public money from the member states. And I think what we should retain is not the adage that we had until now, less is more. And many member states had that actually, but leveraged is more. And we have to give a new shape how to do that. And this is the idea behind the Competitiveness Fund, which will build on ideas like InvestEU, where we use public budgets as a guarantee to bring together. And the kind of the third thing where it's hurting the shoe is on the execution, on the implementation. And it's true that member states, authorities and administrations are slightly overwhelmed by what is coming to them. And the more projects we will promote through regulations, through adequate financing tools, boom, they will walk into this problem of the permitting. And therefore we were presenting single market strategy in June, and one of the points I expect to be in the single market strategy, how to actually speed up implementation, not only make sure that it's implemented and correctly implemented, but also how to speed it up. And we are experimenting, and InnoEnergy is actually also experimenting with it, with digital containers to put into national administration procedures to facilitate for national administrations actually to handle permitting processes. We have also something which is called the Single Digital Gateway, which is hardware connecting all our member states' authorities, and which could be used to retrieve evidence. And we are hoping, we're now working with the CIOs of the member states to actually use that system, which is designed for certain procedures, but it can grow to also use it for permitting and to develop these containers. The European Parliament also asked us to develop some thinking around AI and retrieving data, which could be connected to that work. And there are also some plans of some member states to actually create data spaces where you wouldn't have to report, the data would be cooked. So there is a lot of push going into this, and I think member states will not have a chance, an alternative. They have to embrace the digital way of implementation of the single market. But that's again a new frontier in our work on the single market.
I can't help thinking now, if you come back in 2 years, I hope you come back next year, and I hope I'm here as well then, but if you look into 2 years ahead then of what you just said, what is feasible, you think? Will you sit here in 2 years and say, Linda, everything I said there, it's all there, all single market works perfect, digitalization?
Well, I would hope that you say, my shoes is better now. Not perfect, but better now. I think it's a longer term. It's not, we don't have the Harry Potter magic wand. It requires collaboration. And several discussions I had here today also, it shows we need new formats for collaboration how we discuss together and move things forward. as a European industry. There will be regulation like the public procurement one. We will come with a clean industrial deal, which was kind of the frame, but which I hope will also be very much fixed on the business case. We will have the Accelerator Act, which will essentially look at accelerating the uptake and in particular in the energy-intensive industries of this clean tech solutions. So there is help, but we will always try to sail close to your business case. Not that we want to run your business, but that we support it in a difficult time, because the transformation that we have, that's a very challenging business case in itself.
Looking forward to 2026, actually, now hearing you. But your shoes then, José, where are they aching? Tell us, of perfect fit.
First, I must say to Kerstin that it sounds like music to my ears, because in 26 I want to be building my plant, and I hope that the conditions will be there by then, because I couldn't agree more with those three big challenges that we have. Indeed, they hurt my shoes, so I confirm that. And we need to indeed to do something about. Last week, for example, the World Steel Association, they announced the winner of the Steel Sustainability Award. What was the best example worldwide in sustainability in steel production? Guess who won? China. If you believe that China is lagging behind, there was a Chinese company that was an example of a initiative. So there is a race, and there are lots of things that are shaping up that I'm very hopeful. For example, if I take a CBAM, if you ask me, is CBAM perfect? No, I can finger point a lot of things that I would probably do otherwise. I believe there are some loopholes in the, how we protect scope 2 and 3. I believe scope 1 is quite well covered. How do we avoid that people actually will, instead of selling flood steel in Europe, they will sell steel material in products and etc. So, but it's actually a very good starting point, because I come back to what I said earlier. We need, for example, clear standards on what green product is. Otherwise, we will be subjected to a lot of greenwashing and new marketing strategies, and we should avoid that by all means. We need to invest a lot in a clean energy, in production, transmission, distribution, and etc. And we got to be very clear that it must be cost to pollute. And I believe CBAM is a very good answer to that. If you are polluting like you don't care,
and we're back to the carrot and whip discussion there. Mikołaj, I would like to ask you as well. 2026, do we need to do more to protect the European market? What do you think?
I mean, the answer is very clear, and it's already very clearly as well stated and analyzed by the Draghi report. If you there is one very important, maybe on the page number 33 or 34, there's a graph, showing that, okay, you have the priorities from the European Commission perspective to achieve the net zero industry 2030, 2040, 50. And who is the biggest beneficiary of these, let's say, policy? Yes, the biggest beneficiary until today is China. And this is like 75%, yes? Our all investments are being executed by the Chinese or Asian, not only China, but in most cases, Chinese import of their products, like inverters, like photovoltaics. And where is the place for our industry, our domestic European industry? Our aluminum cables, inverters, storage, energy storage. This is the big threat today. And I would say that if that will be not properly protected, for example, from a cybersecurity perspective, we will be heavily dependent on external supplier in the whole energy storage sector all around Europe. It's not only Poland, not only Central Eastern Europe, it's the whole Europe will be flooded by their products. So that's something which is a real threat, and it's good that the Draghi report has been published, that we are all aware of this, European Commission as well, and we need to tackle this to give the chance for our industry, in European industry, made in Europe, really to have success, to guarantee their place. Maybe not 100%, but at least 60, 70% should be produced within the borders of Europe. Yeah, that's very important for me.
Yeah, well, it's good we're getting some, I shouldn't say bad news, but some info that makes us think. We heard Lewis earlier here today talk about his key figures were like 70% of species will be extinct. It's already been extinct, and we're facing a really tough scenario here. So going back to you, Philipp, you came with some hope earlier. I want to pick up on that because lots of companies need money here. Or if somebody does not need money, raise your hand. And you said there's lots of money out there, right? Or did I quote you wrong now? Do we need more money, or what kind of money do we need to make a better world?
Well, certainly there is money out there, and it's in most instances probably also the right money, but as said, it needs to be somehow unleashed to the right projects.
Yes,
and
explain
therefore,
that.
therefore we need the help from politics, right? We need a good, pragmatic, a reliable regulatory framework that enables also execution with speed. But besides the regulatory framework, the politicians can also help with the infrastructure. I think that was mentioned before. So hydrogen backbone, just one keyword in Europe. I mean, I have companies approaching me with a business case, and they say, yeah, we will be in 2030 selling into the hydrogen backbone. Yeah. But that's not enough to make a financial decision today, investment decision.
Why isn't it? I mean, we had Kerstin saying the long-term thinking, right? Is important.
First of all,
here.
who knows when the hydrogen backbone will really be operating, to what extent, in what region, and then second of all, of course, at what price can you sell hydrogen into the backbone without knowing to which customer today? But then we also...
To give you others hope, there's other investors thinking differently, right? But this is from your perspective?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also important item for regulation or frameworking is that we should try to not add additional cost to the system. I mean, just looking at hydrogen, all the RFNBO criteria and so on, they don't make hydrogen cheaper, they make hydrogen more expensive.
Yeah, there's a fly there. You just ignore it. It loves everybody. You're not the chosen one, so ignore it. Yeah. Yeah, tell us.
So that's pretty important. Yeah, we need to get cost out of the system and be pragmatic. And the US and China, I'm really the chosen
It's
one.
actually me, that fly, just want to distract you. But so what you're saying now, to continue, and then we have José react
in the
on
US
that.
and in China, they are much more pragmatic. The IRA also, just yesterday learned that the real implementation guidelines are also still missing, and probably we won't have them before mid-November or end of the year. Yeah. But they are more pragmatic in really deploying easy, understandable financial incentives to invest into green tech. Yeah, and then maybe last but not least, we heard it also, we have so far more a fragmented ESG world, for example, right? In the end, it really needs to be clear what is a green investment. To have also here the trust that is needed for the investors, because we don't invest and want to sell tomorrow, we invest for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, and it needs to be a reliable, trustworthy business case and investment.
Thank you, and I'll have maybe Kerstin react on that first and then go to José. What do you say when it comes to the regulatory framework there and the responsibility from the politicians to drive this?
Well, I think we played our role already pretty much by setting the targets, having a climate law, having a communication on where we want to be in 2040, and on framing the kind of the different aspects of the business case where we think we should help. Of course, it's your business case, not our business case. So what is lacking, I think, is to understand and continue to understand where your shoe hurts, to bring pragmatic solutions, as you say. The energy piece, that's big. That's big. But I mean, if I look at hydrogen, it's also about, hydrogen, only half of hydrogen actually is a feedstock. So we need to get that into as a feedstock into steel making or fertilizers, for example. And the framing of the regulation now, I think, is really speed up, bring costs down. And we are looking at standards for green steel, for example. Every time, I mean, it's maybe cost down, speed up, and scale. And the scale is clearly the single market. So to get the scale, not everybody a green standard, not everybody a resilient standard, the same standards. On public procurement, to have everybody work, against the same simplified procedures, because we will revise the framework, and also for investment to make sure that takes into account the value chain, so the different sources of financing, we bring them together with a value chain objective and not have member states fight against each other, which is not very productive. So I think it's whilst you walk, tell us where it hurts, and that's why I say we need new kind of platforms or hubs to discuss this as well in a good way as we move on. I don't think you can say, I write this in the law and then the rest will fall into place.
I mean,
it's more complicated.
If I may just give 2 examples which need to be avoided for the future. IPCEI projects, you need years of preparation until you get an award. That cannot be.
And then it takes years of time to actually spend that money on the part of the member states.
Exactly.
We created a forum, the IPCEI forum, with the member states, where we want to work on identification, design, and adoption and investment of the IPCEI, and to accelerate that process a lot. So,
and the second example, the RED II directive, delegated act, I think it was announced for end of 2021 originally, and just recently the first certification schemes were approved by the EU, and it probably takes another quarter at least until you get the first little bit of money out of it for hydrogen that is qualified under the scheme.
We had, Franck, please go.
Yeah, just I want to continue on this topic of 2026. When you look at especially in this region, Central Europe, but also South Europe, we have this resilient and recovery plan, which is, I don't think we need more money from the Draghi report at the moment. We have quite a lot of money to spend. My worry is that because of the delay, not only on the administration, I have to say, let's not accuse always the administration, but also the public procurement, the EPC contractor, etc. We will face huge challenges by the end of 2026 to finish all the project and to allocate the money as well. But even the project where we receive the money to be able to finish by the end of 2026, very challenging. And I think here it's urgent and we work with the Romanian state on that to be able more vocal on it, but to ask for an extension, because it will be crazy that some project will be penalized because of the situation, and we went through an inflation, etc., etc. So this, I think it's really, it will help Central Europe to really think about giving a bit more space for the deadline in terms of recovery plan.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up soon. I know some people are running off to meetings there, which is excellent because they're probably working on what you guys are speaking on. But going to you, José, how important do you think it is? I mean, the short-term perspective from an investor's perspective, but the long-term, I'm talking about saving the world, why I work with fusion, that's a long-term one. Is that important, José, for you, the long-term perspective also from investors and growth versus revenue?
Absolutely, yeah. If you take our example, the company was created in 22. Is just for the first plant is a 2 billion euros, north of a 2 billion euros investment for a plant that will be generating cash flow at the earliest in 28, right? So it's a longer, our industry is a long cycle. And then, however, at the same time, it's a business that stays there for 100 years. So we got to think long term and on the impact that something like what GravitHy is doing will bring. And again, the glass is half full. Let's be positive. There is a lot that's being done, but let's be realistic. It's still half empty, and we got to work on it.
And I mean, the business and the politicians have to have, I mean, short-term but long-term perspective. So Kerstin, to wrap up with you now, have you heard all this before, or did something new come out of these gentlemen that you take with you back to Brussels?
Well, I would like to say the glass is more than half full. And support us, help us to get this business case thinking. This is a new type of industrial policy, which is not, you know, the regulator sitting on one room and the business in another. It's really to get this collaboration going, because it's an unprecedented challenge that we are trying to address here, the transformation and decarbonization of a whole economy. And the good moment, it's a good moment, because we have a new political cycle, we'll have a new budget to bring in these ideas, to have discussions like this one. And it's not that I heard something new, because I heard it, we had many discussions already, but what I see is élan, you know, to take this forward. And that's the most important on the part of everyone.
We're really thankful for your time, Kerstin, and keep working on these issues. You're doing a great job, and you guys seem to be doing a great job too. And pick up some new companies and give them a warm hand, a great panel. Thank you so much. Thank you.